Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. But for our radio audience here in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com, we're glad that you all could be with us. Also, joining us are our friends at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Podcast. We're glad you all could be with us as well. This is a segment that even I can benefit from because it's something that I have not done myself. This is part of our News You Can Use segment here at WYAD. As you guys know, we've been talking about June is recognized not only as Men's Health Month, but also as CPR Awareness Month. And that brings us to today's guest. We're excited to welcome to our program today First Officer and former Delta pilot Matthew Clark. He really has a personal story when it comes to this. On May 21st, 2020, about 6.5 hours into a cargo flight he was piloting, First Officer Matthew Clark suffered a cardiac arrest and was immediately incapacitated. Matt will share his incredible story with us today about a quick-thinking co-pilot and crew, how they jumped into action, but also discussing the importance of learning CPR, again, something that I have to work on, and how to use an AED. Matthew, thank you so much again for the time. Really do appreciate it.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
So this is such an important story, and it's one that's personal to you. So I kind of gave the highlight there, Matt, of what happened on May 21st, 2020. Tell us more, if you don't mind, about exactly what occurred that day.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned, in May of 2020, I was a commercial airline pilot at the controls of a Boeing 777 cargo flight, and we were coming back from Europe to the U.S., and suddenly, without warning, I had a cardiac arrest and instantly died. And it's important to add that there were no warning signs, no symptoms. I had no medical issues prior to this. Literally in the blink of an eye, out of left field, I was looking out the window, and then a second later, I was dead. And thankfully, one of my fellow pilots, Captain Lee, recognized that I lost consciousness. He reached over, checked for a pulse, checked for breathing. He found neither, and he wasted no time. He reclined my chair, immediately began giving me CPR. Eventually, the other pilot came back from his rest break. He got the AED from the back of the plane. They hooked it up to me. It administered a shock. I eventually came back to life, but they believe I was dead for roughly 8 to 10 minutes. And then even after I was resuscitated, I was still unconscious, and we're at 40,000 feet over eastern Canada. So they conducted an emergency diversion and descent into Moncton, Canada, where I was offloaded by paramedics. And over the next roughly 12 hours, I suffered 11 more cardiac arrests, each one requiring a shock to revive me. I spent 4 days on life support, sedated in a coma, and 2 weeks total in the hospital before eventually being released.
Matt, you're able to say that so calmly today, but, I mean, what is it like for you to say those words that I died? I mean, what is that like for you now to be able to say 2 years ago, from 2 years later?
Yeah, it's nothing short of crazy. When you think about everything that happened and you factor in the statistics, the odds of surviving a sudden cardiac arrest outside of a hospital are 10%. So, the fact that I'm alive today is remarkable. And thankfully, my fellow pilots, if they didn't know CPR and there wasn't an AED readily available, there's basically zero chance that I'd be alive today. Knowing CPR alone can double or even triple somebody's chances of survival.
Such an important point. And when I was prepping for your segment, Matt, I read actually an important statement that I want to share with our audience, that if CPR is not initiated within minutes, it could lead to brain injury, damage, and even death, which really, I think, shows the importance here. Matt, so that's why we're so glad to have you on with us. Why is it important to learn CPR? I think our audience probably knows from hearing your story, and how to use an AED. As you said, that was also important here.
Yeah, I mean, outside of the statistics, really it comes down to, I think a lot of us are under the impression that it's never going to happen to us. And that, quite frankly, that's just unfortunately not the case. I've spoken with so many people, and every time I tell my story, someone tells me, oh, yeah, I had a friend, I had a family member, I had a coworker that basically had something, the same thing or something similar happen to them. And knowing CPR makes all the difference. The captain, the individual who saved my life, that gentleman, he learned it 30 years ago. So taking that 1 to 2 hours to learn CPR really can make the difference. And odds are the life you'll be saving is someone you know and someone close to you.
So true. So, Matt, how are you feeling today?
I feel great. I'm incredibly fortunate. I've made a full recovery. I have no restrictions or limitations. I'm able to go out and exercise and do basically everything that I was doing before this happened. Unfortunately, the only limitation that I do have, legally speaking, is I'm no longer allowed to fly airplanes. So the event ended my career, but I'm still here, and, that's obviously worth its weight in gold.
And what has this chapter of your life been like for you, Matt, to have made a difference the way that you have in the past? What has this part been like for you now to be a part of this education campaign?
Oh, it's such a motivator for me. It's really, inspires me and keeps me going. I've met so many wonderful people through the course of this process, and, given, all the help that I received, so many wonderful people during my event, really it's an opportunity for me to pay it forward. And really what it boils down to is saving lives. I've got 2 young kids. I've got an amazing wife who almost had to carry on without me, and I don't want someone else to have to go through that. So making sure that everyone learns CPR is going to save lives, and it's going to keep all of us from losing the people we love.
Yeah. Well, Matt, I can say I always tell my radio audience I'm all about full disclosure, so you're speaking to myself as well. I definitely need to step up and do the same thing. So where can our audience go for more information and to see how they can learn CPR, Matt?
Absolutely. Please go to cpr.heart.org. All the information you need to learn about CPR and where you can be trained is all right there. So please take the time, go visit it, and please, please learn CPR.
All right, and we'll make sure that we link that up for our audience as well, cpr.heart.org, again, was that website. Again, our guest has been Matthew Clark, sharing his amazing story and how now he's able to help save lives by sharing his story and also educating us all. Matt, really appreciate this time. It really was a pleasure having you on, and looking forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thank you as well. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Now let's go make today amazing. Take care.